Hi there! In today's video, I have a very interesting topic to talk about. You see me holding these documents? A lot of them. Those are my homework, and I need to read all of them so that I can understand and practically doing some research. And you guessed it, I give you the hint. Today's video is going to be about effective researching skill. So, why is research skill so important? And noted that research skill is one of the most important skills in everyday life, not just for students, but also for teachers, workers, parents, everyone needs to do research. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about three things. Firstly, when do we need to do research? Secondly, how is it so important? And thirdly, how can we do effective research? First of all, when do we usually do research? Easy. As a student, I always have to do research to do my homework, especially write some essays, and more importantly, I need to read a lot, research a lot, because I am a debater and I take part in a lot of debate tournaments. But for workers or teachers, take example of a teacher, right? A teacher has to do research so that she can prepare her lesson and slides so that she can be able to teach her student. And for workers, they have to do research so that they can hand in the report for their boss. And even the boss needs to do research so that they can hire the right people for their business. And they have to kind of like talk and present their ideas to other companies so that like many companies can have compromises with each other. So basically everyone needs to do research. And research, how can it help us? Secondly, and why is it so important? First of all, effective research can help us to understand more about a certain topic. For example, I want to write an essay about should we mandate carbon pricing for all industry? This is a tough topic. Carbon pricing. It's actually true. I do have to write that essay. And I know nothing about carbon pricing. So how can I write it? Easy. The answer is research. I need to research about carbon pricing. Why do we have carbon pricing? Who invented carbon pricing? And whether it is good to implement this carbon pricing and mandate carbon pricing for all industry. I also need to find out what are industry, who are they, and what do they do, etc., etc. A lot I need in order to do effective research. And if I understand the problem and the matter coherently, I can actually write a very good essay. It's not just some tough matters, easy topic such as do we need enough sleep or should students use ChatGPT to do their homework? Those are all very easy topics, but without research, without an outline, you cannot just jump in to writing an essay. That is merely impossible. So if you give me a topic, for example, this video, I also need to do research in order to make this video about researching skill. And without my research, without writing an outline on a piece of paper, I will be unable to talk to you. I will, like, normally I do not have a script, but I do have, like, my notebook to write down important points I'm going to talk about so that my video will be better and my video will actually attract more people if I am well prepared. You see, if you are well prepared and if you do your research, then everything you do will be so much better. Like imagine you are a teacher and you walk into class and you do not do research on the topic that you're going to teach your student. So even if you know that topic, but you don't do it and you're not well prepared, then of course that lesson will not go according to plan. Okay, that's enough talking about why researching skill is important. I'm sure all of you know why it's important already. Let's talk about how we can do effective research. So, number one of the most important questions you need to ask first when doing research is Define a clear research question. What is it supposed to mean? So take example of the topic that I have to write an essay about, which is about carbon pricing. So I have to define a clear question and a clear understanding. Because you cannot just do research without knowing what you are going to do research about. Is that true? So when I write an essay about carbon pricing, I have to consider some question. Like I have to consider what I will do research about. In that way, I will have a path that I can actually follow so that my research process will be much faster and it'll be more effective. Because you cannot just do research without knowing what to research. Simple as that. So in the carbon pricing, I have to do research about what is carbon pricing, what will happen if we mandate it, what will happen if we don't mandate, what are the benefits and the disadvantages of carbon pricing, etc., etc. So before you do research, I really recommend you to write down some keywords. I mean some keywords or some important question that you will do research so that the process will be much faster. And make sure that if you're writing an essay or if you're making a video, anything that requires research, you have to define a clear path of what you're going to do. What does it mean to have a clear path? A clear path means that you will have a focus. For example, in my essay about carbon pricing, I will only focus on what are the benefits and the harms when we mandate carbon pricing, and that's it. I will not talk about the history of carbon pricing. I will not talk about what is exactly who invented carbon pricing. Those are the things that I will not talk about. So make sure that you will define a clear path so that your research will be much more effective. That's tip number one from me. And not just from me, I think if you ask others, they will basically do the same thing. And this is not just my tip, it's just my own experience on how I usually do research. Number two, make sure you check your resources. Some unreliable sources I can think of is number one, the top is Wikipedia. Why shouldn't we use Wikipedia? Because we can, like, anyone can basically edit on Wikipedia. So therefore, it's not a reliable source. So make sure you check some reliable sources and you check the date. It's important to check the date because you cannot just use a source that is written from 2005. That's basically 10 years. So 10 years ago, which, I mean, it's not 10 years ago, it's like 20 years ago. So basically, it's not a good source if you use the source from 20 years ago. So make sure the source has to be up to date and you have to double check the source. So basically, like, the reason why checking source is so important is because, like, actually I am a writer at a small newspaper club. And of course, I need to use some reliable sources so that my newspaper will be up to date and readers will resonate with my newspaper. So before I read any sources, first of all, I will check whether it's reliable or not. So sources like National Geographic, the New York Times, BBC News, etc., are all reliable sources. And number two, I will check the date. So if the date is, presently, or like probably 4 years ago, 3 years ago, it is reliable enough. So simple as that. Check your sources. And please do not use Wikipedia because you know why. Okay, tip number three is take organized note. Because when you kind of like do research and you want to use this source, so I recommend you guys to create a document and put all of the sources, all the information that you will use, or maybe will not, but it is kind of like useful in your essay or in any project that you will do. So make sure that you will just compile it all to one document so that you will not lost it when you write your essay. And the fourth tip is to evaluate information critically. Why is this important? So let's take example of carbon pricing. Again, the essay that I have to write. So that essay, whenever I research online, and there's so many good ideas why a specific industry must pay for the price or must kind of like implement this carbon pricing. So many good ideas. But I have to evaluate the information critically. I cannot just use all of that idea from that article. I have to evaluate lots of information, and I have to like consider the credibility of the author, because I cannot just use all of those ideas. I also have to use my own. So you cannot just accept all information at face level, right? So for example, this is the document that I compiled and I'm gonna use it for my project. But of course, I will not use all of those information. I will have to evaluate, and I will have to generate. I will have to read and consider carefully which one will go into my project. Okay, final tip. Keep track of sources, right? This is similar to tech organized notes. If you don't want to have like notes, you can just kind of like keep track of your sources so that you will not end up losing it. Because maybe you say that, oh, I'm going to use this article, but then you just move to another article and you accidentally clicked on the exit button of the previous article. So make sure you keep track of your sources, and especially when you write a research paper, it's important to credit the source that you use. So make sure that you credit the author and you have the references. Remember, do not plagiarize, and make sure that your article or like your essay or your project is not AI detected. That's the worst thing that could happen to anybody who write a research paper. So make sure that you use some devices to check if your essay is AI detected, because sometimes, even if you do not use AI, it can turn out to be as AI detected for numerous reasons. I think you guys already know this. Like, for example, maybe your essay and the way you write it is too formal and it sounds like AI, so it can be detected as AI. So simple, you can just change some words or change some sentences. So, yeah, basically, those are my ways of doing research. And I hope you guys find this video useful, and you can comment down below and tell me which videos you want to see next. See ya!